Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by the Transact Card, Align Life, Brain-Based Health Solutions, Chiro HD, Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, German College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, the IFCO, and 100% Chiropractic. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 546 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Stephen Schwartz. And if you want to hear about bioresonance, primal resonance, and vibe technology, and how it can help with chronic inflammation, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today I have Stephen Schwartz on, Dr. Vibe, as you can see. This guy is just really exceptional with some of the things that he has been working on. We're going to talk about his book. We're going to touch on a topic I'm really not very familiar with, which is bioresonance, which seems to be something he's really capable of discussing with us, and we'll probably get some good target information on bioresonance. And then he's created something called the Vibe technology. I've tried this technology personally. It's pretty ingenious, and there's a lot that goes into it, and I'll let him talk more about that. But before we get into episode 546 of the Chiro Hustle podcast, I let everybody to know our big why. Why do we do what we do? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. We believe in the First Amendment. I have never censored anybody, even though me as a small guy that just produces a chiropractic podcast has been shadow banned and marginalized within the social media platforms. So I would never do that to someone else. Other things that we stand for are medical freedom and family health freedom. They're not the same things, but chiropractic, I believe, is the last spot between medical freedom and medical tyranny. So we have to support this beautiful profession. And then we get into more philosophical parts of this profession, which are subluxation and innate intelligence, universal intelligence, and sacred trust. If you want to know more about what the sacred trust is, go search for B.J. Palmer's last words, and that will teach you a whole lot more about chiropractic than you previously knew. And then subluxation shouldn't have to be mentioned in a chiropractic podcast, but it is, because they're taking it outside the school. So my fee for you is to share the show. Share this show with chiropractic students. Share it with chiropractic colleges. Get it on these campuses that are trying to remove philosophy with subluxation, innate intelligence, universal intelligence out of these curriculums. So that's my fee for everybody that listens to the show, is just share it. Share it with the up-and-comers. Share it with somebody that needs to hear this message. And then lastly, the reason I mentioned innate intelligence and universal intelligence, because we believe that when man or woman, the physical, gets adjusted by a chiropractor, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. And with that, this is episode 546. Dr. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, James. I'm excited to be on your show. I didn't realize that. So you're saying that they've taken subluxation off the campuses? That's a no word now?
Probably out of the 18 campuses that I last knew that were on U.S. soil, they're removing the lexicon and telling people it's an antiquated terminology, and that it's historical reference only, and it doesn't exist.
Interesting. What do they replace it with?
Intersegmental dysfunction.
Intersegmental dysfunction. I mean, in all fairness, subluxation is not really I think of subluxation as like your bone out of plate, like I have a subluxated joint, but that's the original traditional word. I see that. That's an interesting, I got to process that a little bit.
I feel you. And I didn't think it was a thing either until back in 2016. I go over to speak at a college in southern England, which was called, it was in Bournemouth, called the AECC, the Anglo-European Chiropractic College. And I made a movie called Chiropractic, the documentary, and I took it around Europe and took it to a handful of chiropractic colleges and a few schools and a conference over there. And it was kind of a big thing. And then we took it, toured it through Mexico. We also have it translated in Spanish so people could learn about the history of this profession. So I went over there, and one of the people that was in charge of the institution came up to me and said, "Hey, just to let you know, when you address the students, we can't talk about three things." I said, "What would those be?" And they said, "Well, you can't mention subluxation, and you can't talk about innate intelligence or universal intelligence."
Wow.
So you know what I did, Dr. Steven? I addressed the students before we showed the movie. We showed the whole movie, by the way. And I said, I was informed that in order for me to speak to you guys tonight, I couldn't talk about three things. And I mentioned them.
What was the third thing?
Innate intelligence, universal intelligence, and the word subluxation.
Okay, innate, universal.
Yep. So they're like, you can't talk about these things.
They're essentially knocking out the whole philosophical aspect of chiropractic.
Yep. So my fee to people that listen to this show is to just share it so that those things don't get removed from the lexicon and the languaging. So that's it.
Well, I think it's interesting, just to not to get off the topic here, but I think it's really interesting because I was in clinical practice from 2000 to 2016, 15. And then there's been this, I've started developing technologies between 2015, well, the vibrational technology since 2015 till basically present. And now I've been reintroduced back into the profession. And it's amazing because I see the next generation. I've been meeting a lot of new chiropractors coming out of school. And like I was saying, I was just at the Cellcore conference and some other chiropractors in the area. And they're like starseed chiropractors. It's kind of what I feel like the Palmers really were trying to manifest back in 1895 or in the turn of last century. And then there was this whole the Mercedes 80s and everything went on in the 90s and in 2000s. But now all the indigo children that really are feeling resonant with this holistic, more Western approach, which is known as chiropractic, I feel it actually has a window of really stepping into its highest expression of itself. Probably first time ever. I think it's putting on its pants. So now I didn't know that it's being regulated. That kind of takes away from it a little bit.
So before we get into your story, I have a couple questions for you. Have you been adjusted by any of these new age youngster chiropractors?
I have, actually. I've had some really good experiences, and a lot of them are very open to a lot of energy work. They became really like the people I'm thinking of really dove into, I think, what I call the titans of chiropractic, Dijonais and Goodhart and stuff like that. I think almost those guys are almost what I'd say almost lost knowledge in the chiropractic profession. So I think it's exciting. When I used to study them in school, they were the true wizards. Read those textbooks. Like, what are these guys? What were they channeling? It was all channel information. You're reading this book. I mean, we don't learn about channeling in chiropractic school, but my whole practice really shifted into energy-based medicine after I came out of chiropractic school. And I graduated from New York Chiropractic College, which I thought was a pretty, medically centered school, which I really enjoyed my experience there. But we didn't, we learned about chiropractic philosophy, but, it was more like scientific based, which I liked, but my soul really enjoyed digging into the past, the foundation that started this profession. So, and even magnetic healing, what was D.D. Palmer doing as a magnetic healer in the 1800s? You ever think about that?
Oh, I think about it plenty. and as me being a non-chiropractor and me thinking about this profession as a whole, I get a different scope and a different looking glass to look at it because I talk to so many practitioners, and what I gather is the youngsters don't have good adjusting technique. They don't know how to do applied Gonstead moves. They're all trying to be more energetic and less less
physical.
Yes, less physical.
You know what? I think the thing about chiropractors, you go to 1,000 offices, you're going to get 1,000 different adjustments, which is the blessing and the curse of our profession. That's the philosophy. I really, even in terms of what my practice has turned into, I love that I'm a chiropractor. I love identifying as a chiropractor. But the problem is when I talk about they say, "Oh, what kind of doctor are you?" I say, "I'm a chiropractor," and immediately everybody goes into, "Oh, my neck hurts, my shoulder hurts, my back hurts," and my background's actually in sports medicine. Like I went to undergrad for sports medicine. I went to chiropractic school for sports medicine. I wanted to work with Olympians and Olympic extreme sport athletes. That was where my mind was. But within my first year of moving to Denver, Colorado, right out of school, I had my spiritual awakening. And next thing I know, the floodgates opened. I came to San Diego and I learned about kinesiology, muscle reflex testing, energy medicine. That was all new, but my body was getting a full wow, like it was like filling in a lot of blanks that I didn't have in school. And my practice transformed overnight. And really the next 16 years to date to present is hardcore bioenergetic and bioresonance technologies. And I adjust when I feel people need to be adjusted. I'm a really good osseous adjuster. Dr. Ken Padgett was the president of New York Chiropractic College at the time. And I remember there was a big pushback from students because we didn't learn all the bioenergetic techniques. And you know what he said? He goes, "You can always learn those techniques, but there's a technique to being able to adjust somebody's spine, like to really move a bone." And I enjoyed it. I mean, I learned a lot in chiropractic school, and I feel I enjoy that I have these skills of adjusting and resetting the bones, just like the ancient bone centers of the Mayans. I'm living here in Tulum, Mexico. I feel that I'm a chiropractor, but if I go back even further, my lineage, I was probably an ancient Mayan bone setter.
Yeah, I just listening to like you describe like the love for the profession really matters because coming from your position as an adjuster to now energetic guy, and I think that they kind of coalesce with each other. You can't have one without the other. And I think that every chiropractor works with the subtle energies of the body, whether it's I'm going to Gonstead, like drop table you, I'm going to whatever it is type of adjustment that people are doing. There's always a shift. And like you said, the reason that chiropractic is easy to come at is because everybody does it a little bit different. So I spoke a couple years ago at a philosophy night up in Boulder for the Mile High Philosophy Night. And my talk was on unity through diversity. And I said that if I go to 10 offices, everybody's going to have a different technique. So I was like, support and love on every practitioner in this room. Take each one out to lunch, like meet with each other, support each other, and love this profession more, rather than say, I do it differently and they do it wrong. So I said, if that's the case, then we need to become a lot more sensitive with the understanding of what this profession really is. And all of you guys are healers, and all of you guys are right, and all of you guys are credentialed. And I said, for that matter, even the person that becomes the last in class as a doctor, they're still a doctor. And
well, you know what they said for my first day in orientation when we started in chiropractic school? They said D's and C's make DCs. And you know what? One of my dear bestest chiropractic buddies, Mark Habib, if you're listening to this podcast, I'll give you a shout out. He was definitely that D and C guy. And I think he's one of the best chiropractors I know. And you know what? He's ready to retire and do something else, but he's kicks and moans the whole time. But he runs a really awesome practice, and he's really heart-centered. And he's been able to create a very beautiful life for himself. And he's got a lovely wife and 2 sons, and he's helping a lot of people.
And see, that's another thing is chiropractic is an identity. And a chiropractor looks at another chiropractor and says if they want to go do something different and do something outside of just sitting over a table adjusting people, that they've somehow abandoned the profession, or they're somehow no longer a chiropractor anymore, or they're doing the wrong things and they got lost along the way or whatever. But I think when you have a career doing anything, you can choose to do something new.
Exactly. So in fact, people ask me, that's the number one question I get. They say, Dr. Schwartz, you don't do chiropractic anymore. And you know what I say to them? I said, I'm doing the highest expression of chiropractic, because chiropractic is not about neck pain, back pain, and headaches. It's not about adjusting your neck and spine. It's about removing interference from your nervous system. And what's happened and I noticed this over my career. There's an interesting point in time. I graduated in 1998, so like in the end of the 90s into the beginning of 2000s. If you just look at like humanity, there was really this shift from, like, even in 2007 when I developed my first biofeedback system. Apps didn't even exist. Tablets did not exist in 2007. So go back 7 years prior, we were not bombarded with all this negative electromagnetic fields. We didn't have 5G. People still sat around just watch like regular television. We had like cable TV and things like that. There's no streaming. There was still genetically modified foods, but kind of at a different level. Things went to this hyper toxic, hyper synthetic, hyper vibrational, negative, positive, and negative area that went through this transition into the new millennium. And it's been building through, really, if I go esoteric, through the end of the Mayan calendar, 2012, and now into 2020 and beyond, where we're in this energetic space, more ingrained now than ever before. And so when they ask me if I do chiropractic anymore, I said it's the highest expression, because I learned this in chiropractic school. We learned about the three reflexes. Is it okay if I share about the three reflexes?
For sure.
You have the somato reflex. That's body to body. My neck hurts. I adjust the spine. Boom. Now my neck doesn't hurt anymore. The somato visceral. That's like, oh, I have asthma and I went to my chiropractor and he adjusts my neck. She is a total wizard. I don't know. It's weird how my asthma got better, or my cold got better, or something like visceral like that. And then the third one is the visceral somatic reflex. And these are the ones that people are coming in with all kinds of conditions, whether it's like, respiratory dysfunction, irritable bowel syndrome, whatever stuff's going on. They have that subluxation. Oh, I'm not allowed to use that. Intersegmental dysfunction that is always out, and it's never, the chiropractor is always adjusting the same thing over and over and over again, and it never gets adjusted, because it's not that the chiro doesn't know what they're doing. It's because they're not addressing the visceral somatic response. And that was my entire practice. That used to drive me crazy. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to just sit there and adjust the same thing over and over again. Like, what is that imbalance that the circuit breaker, the spine, is off, just like you end up tripping a circuit. There's something in that chain of command that keeps triggering that spine to go out, that intersegmental dysfunction. I'm excited to use this, by the way. I'm totally working this into my new curriculum. And so that takes me into working into cellular memory, bioresonance, chronic inflammation, toxicity, infectious agents, infection, vaccines. If the V word is just as poisonous now as the C word, you can't say V, you can't say C. So these were all the areas that we started to work on accessing the nervous system from the inside out. And if you go back to D.D. and B.J. Palmer, above, down, inside, out. These guys were working with visceral somatic reflexes. Dijonais. And Goodhart, the people I referenced earlier, when you read their stuff, it was all organ-based. And so now how do you address them? We do muscle reflex testing to all the different organs of the body, and then working with the peripheral nerves that would be triggered and cause that visceral somatic reflex. So along my journey, I created this technology called the Vibe, which we'll talk about soon, but I also worked with this laser system, and I created a whole system called neurocircuit repatterning. And it was a kinesiological system where I would muscle test. I would do all the nerve root testing of C1 all the way down to L5. And then I would see which nerve roots are off. And then I would see what what organ reflexes were associated with them and see which ones them were off. Then I used a laser. And then with that laser, I would go through and I would use either red or infrared, depending on what I wanted to treat. And I would stimulate the nerve root and the organs, clear out that system. And then if there was a third level, if there was still something stuck, it was a cellular memory, some kind of emotional thing.
Trauma.
And then we do a whole clearing process there. Miracles. I've always wanted to teach that class, actually. That's one of my programs that I worked with, neurocircuit repattern. It exists because I created it. But if you Google it, you're not going to find it unless somebody took my name. But it's a really specialized laser kinesiological program. And it works with the same thing. How do you clear cellular memory? How do you clear the visceral somatic reflex?
Usually I listen to let the next question go, but like this is like really special because it goes back to old school philosophy. There's three things that cause a vertebral subluxation: thoughts, traumas, or toxins. And there's three different levels of it. And there's old school philosophy that says the body needs nothing extra in it. It simply needs no interference. So when you clear the interference, the body's a self-healing organism. It's not mechanistic at all. But if you can find that root cause and you could pinpoint that with laser, you could pinpoint that with,
muscle testing
and then adjusting with like an osseous adjustment on top of that. Now we're clearing multiple layers within a person. And now we're basically unsubluxating their nervous system. We're allowing the body to flow the way it was meant to. And now their pattern is not going to be present long term. You're actually going in there and biohacking the pattern of the misalignment, whether it's a scoliotic shift and it's getting worse, or whether it's forward head posture and you have a locked atlas. Like when you go in and hit that nerve root, it allows the body to chill. So it goes into parasympathetic. And then you adjust and it takes the pressure off that nerve system. Now the body's able to actually readapt. And that's really the root of chiropractic, is adaptability.
Exactly. And that's what we did. That's what I'm saying. It's the highest expression of chiropractic. And because the vibration has raised over the last 20 years, and it's always raising. But, when we're talking about Harvey Lillard in like 1895 being able to restore his hearing with an controversial subluxation adjustment, you know what? That was an energetic treatment in 1895. But where we were more dense and there wasn't this interference around us with all these things. When you raise to a different, now when we're in this soup of energetics, it's important to also match the dysfunction with functional energetics. Because we are, hey, repeat after me. I talk about this in my book. We are physical manifestations.
We are physical manifestations
of our own
energetic
expressions.
We
are energy first and the physical expression of that second. And I talk about that in detail in my book. Can't see it all blurred out. But anyhow, Primal Resonance, Discover the Secrets to Health, Vitality, and Optimal Human Performance. It specifically talks about chronic systemic inflammation, which I wrote in 2014. And we talked about a new epidemic in America. And I wrote this in 2014. It came out in 2015. And you know what that is? Chronic systemic inflammation. Nobody's dying from COVID. People are dying from chronic systemic inflammation. They get a co-infection or something like that. And that's another thing we're not going to get into here during this call. But that concept of the epidemic is widespread. And how do we clear that? How do we effectively reduce chronic systemic inflammation? And that's why we are living in this toxic world. The food that we eat, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink. And you know what the most toxic pillar of them all? The one I didn't say.
The air that we breathe.
Air that we breathe, the water we drink. The thoughts that we think.
Mm-hmm.
They're more toxic. They cause more energetic disruption in our bodies than all the rest.
Mm.
because you can have contaminated water and you can put energy of love and light and higher vibration into it and transmute the water with your own mind. And you can drink it, and the chances of you getting sick is less. You can also completely poison perfectly good water with your own thoughts as well too.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by the Transact Card, Align Life, Brain-Based Health Solutions, Chiro HD, Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Mobiles, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, German College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, the IFCO, and 100% Chiropractic. Let's hustle.
Yeah, the energetic shift in humanity is at an all-time high, because I do believe that we're being bombarded constantly. And I interviewed Tim O'Shea for my first movie, and he said that we don't have a lack of information this is in 2015. And he's like, we have influx of too much information, and we don't know what to choose. We don't know who to listen to. We get 20 different people talking about the same thing with different opinions on it. He goes, so to find like the real truth of like a topic, it's really challenging for people, and it exhausts people, and they just want to put it down. So I think that that's what we've done, is what they call it input aphasia. Like you get too much information going, or too much like input of energy, that people just kind of want to, they want to shut down. And that's why we have people that aren't very energetic, and they're not, go-getters, and they're not high level vigilant, and they're not charismatic, because they're complacent, because there's too much energy on them and there's too many choices.
Well, and I think that actually segues really well into the vibe system, because one of the aspects that I was considering is, if your body, here's the question I asked myself. So really it all originated from, I had an idea, because we had the three pillars of my practice was, how do you reduce inflammation? How do you clear cellular memory? And how do you balance the body? That was my equation. And I had something called, we went through the causal chain progression. We wouldn't treat symptoms. It was all causal. It was, how do we clear information at the top to give the body the information to restore itself to work normal? Like if you're having an allergy, and if you have, if you're having information that's coming in that's blocking your system, negative information, then if we can put positive information, it's going to create positive chemistry. It's kind of just that simple. So like, why would somebody have a food allergy to dairy? Like all that is, and if you read in my book, that's a whole chapter on elimination of allergies. It's an awesome chapter. We talked specifically on the root cause of allergies, but really it's like the primary allergy. There's two kinds of allergies: primary allergies, secondary allergies. A primary allergy is literally a glitch in the nervous system. Somehow your mind and your environment got crossed with a stimulus, and boom, your nervous system is now having this response. So Dr. Nambudrapad, NAET, Nambudrapad's allergy elimination technique, she was the queen of eliminating primary allergies. However, if it was a secondary allergy, meaning that it's coming from another source, and now you're having allergy symptoms, there was some other factors that needed to be addressed. So I'd ask myself, why would that computer system get scrambled? Why would that happen in the first place? Usually it goes back to something emotional, usually something exposed to some kind of toxin. There's something in the food, there's something in the water, there's something, and it all gets looped together. But we've had miracles where literally you just, let's just use dairy. Somebody, they have explosive diarrhea every time they consume ice cream or something. And this is a case study. Boom, we treat them for dairy. Next thing you know, they can eat ice cream. That's a miracle. Primary allergy. And if it doesn't work, it means it's a secondary allergy. I mean, there's something feeding into it. But our bodies are that smart that we can reprogram the computer very easily. But also, if we're not getting if we're not getting the reactions, if we're not getting the response that we're expecting, It's because we are missing something and we're not paying attention to the language that the body is expressing to us. I'm down in Mexico. I'm trying to learn Spanish. I'm working really hard at that. But one language that I am really fluent at is the language of human physiology. And it speaks in terms of stillness and in terms of symptoms.
So do people come to you ever when they're like not like a pain responsive thing, and they're like, Doc, I want to go make more money. Can you help me like do that? Or they're like, hey Doc, I want to fall in love. Can you help me do that? Or Doc, I'm really having a really tough time on getting fit. Can you help me do that? Like, are you finding like the way that you're able to communicate and get breakthroughs with people go to a different plateau outside of neck pain, back pain, headaches?
Love that. Thank you for asking that question. My 16 years in clinical practice, I spent working and specializing in reversing chronic illness. The worst of the worst people in Denver, Colorado. And, I'm trying to talk about bioresonance, and people are like, just go see, weird Dr. Vibe and his voodoo. I wasn't Dr. Vibe then. I was Dr. Stephen Schwartz. Go see the voodoo guy. And they didn't really understand it, but they knew we got results. And what was interesting is I separated from there, and now I kind of started this whole other life in California. Now I'm living down in Tulum. And really, like I said, when I wrote my book, it's about discovering the secrets to health, vitality, and optimal human performance. Like when you're sick, you're like down here. Okay, like, can you please help me with my headaches? Can you help me with my irritable bowel? Can you help me with my fibromyalgia? Can you help me with my chronic pain? Can you help me with all these things, all these symptoms? Okay, so now this is the question you used to ask. If you don't have any of those things anymore, what do you want after that? What do you want next? And you know how many people that they look at you like, what are you talking about? They can't even imagine a life beyond there. So I loved you asked that question, and it's the same continuation. It's optimal human performance. So if you go, I have a digital business card. I think you have it. I gave it to you when we met. And it says, Dr. Stephen Schwartz, evolutionary performance expert. And really that job is, okay, cool. You're in pain. Let's get you out of pain. But really, how do we get you to the next level? These are, in quantum world, I call them interdimensional portals. How do we align you to a new dimensional reality? And here's the secret of your choosing. What do you want? And we ask this question all the time with the vibe. We haven't necessarily gotten into what that is or defining what that technology is. Is it okay if I just state what that is?
Absolutely. Like that was one of the things I wanted to touch on, but we got so deep into the
it's all related.
Yeah, we got so deep in the metaphysics of what chiropractic is.
Well, we're not even talking about chiropractic. We're talking about human physiology. And you're talking about an adjustment, like a chiropractic table. Okay, lay on this table. You have drop tables. The thing goes up and down. It raises this way and that way. I have this great video. I was getting these multi-directional traction, lumbar and cervical traction. And then the whole bed was vibrating. I'll send you the video. It's hilarious. Amazing. I got that done. Dr. Andrew Becker's clinic in Complete Wellness Chiropractic in Denver, Colorado. I was getting that done. But really, what was amazing is this vibe is kind of an advanced chiropractic table because it works specifically with clearing cellular memory. And it's not a vibration table. The vibes, it stands for vibrational. Repeat after me. Vibrational. Individualized. Body. Enhancement. System. It's a vibe system. It's a vibrational individualized body enhancement system. It's not a bed. It's not a couch. It's not a chair. It's its own thing. It's a vibe. It's a vibe system. And why we developed it as a delivery system for specialized music called Sonic-Ceuticals. And I formulated them very specifically as if you would take a homeopathic or an herb or concoction. You put all these different things in it. It has different brainwave states, sacred geometry, mathematical ratios, specific for the connective tissue, a variety of other ingredients, frequency-based ingredients, all created in this contemporary music that we broadcast through this full body process for clearing cellular memory. And it's a process known as body hypnosis. We're all familiar with brain entrainment, right? Oh, it's all in your head. It's not all in your head. It's all in your tissues. The issues are in your tissues. And the brain in your head is the reflex, it's the relay station of input from the universe. Wait, I can't talk about universal intelligence. It comes in from our external environment, and it comes in through the field, and it gets interpreted through the skin, through the most intricate part of our nervous system, the living connective tissue matrix, which feeds into the fascia, which feeds into other areas, and it plugs into the peripheral nerves, it plugs into the cranial nerves and into your spinal cord. And then all that information is then interpreted through the brain, and then the brain starts releasing all this chemistry, and then it feeds that back out. And you might ask, what chemistry? It depends on the input. So if your input, your negative input, just 5G input, you've got to fight with your partner, your boss, you would Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, whatever, walking down the street, people honking their horns, your McDonald's, fast food, I can't say McDonald's, fast food, whatever input is coming into your body, then that's creating negative chemistry. However, if all of that is going to create negative chemistry, what if you lay in the field of harmonic resonance? Then it's going to do exactly the same thing, except it's going to create positive chemistry. It has to, because this is how our nervous system works. We learned about this first trimester in neuroanatomy, neurophysiology, how it works. Depolarization versus repolarization, and the arrows go in both directions. And I think what's so fascinating about our nervous system is, think about how easy it is to create a habit. Like, you can watch a movie, and next thing you know, you're having digestive issues and you're having all these thoughts about like that movie for weeks or potentially for the rest of your life by watching a stupid movie. Why can't you just lay in a field of harmonic resonance and create something totally new, coupled with your intention? And that is the magic ingredient. I talk about that. It's called the genie's lamp phenomenon. I talk about this in my book. There's 3 ingredients to the genie's lamp phenomenon. You want to take a guess what they are?
Thoughts?
Let's go even more basic. You know about about a genie, right?
Yeah.
And the 3 wishes.
So you
got, what are the 3 components? You got
the genie,
right?
Yeah.
You got a lamp.
A wish.
And you got the wishes. So, but you have a lamp, and the story goes that, this poor soul is traipsing through the desert, and they see this oasis, and he comes across this lamp. And you know what? Just because, what's inside the lamp?
Dreams.
The genie is inside the lamp waiting for somebody to come. And how do they activate the lamp?
Intentional gravity.
They rub it. Yeah. That's the whole thing. They rub the lamp, and next thing you know, you get your 3 wishes from the genie. But until you rub the lamp, that genie is sitting inside of that lamp for perpetuity. Somebody needs to come along and rub the lamp. So how are you going to rub? So what is the lamp? The lamp is the body. What's the genie? It's your thoughts, your intention. And how do you rub it? That's how you activate. And so the vibe is one way of getting that cellular rubbing of our connective tissue, coupled with your intention, to create a new energetic expression of yourself, a new dimensional reality of yourself, interdimensional portals. And that's what the vibe is.
So at this segment, we're almost at the end of our time. If people want to work with you, they want to learn more about you, where's some places we can send people to?
So probably the best way to connect with me personally, we have 4 Instagram channels. We're all over Instagram. And actually, I would love it. Anybody listening here, all 4 of them, 3 of the 4 got hacked. So we're building. So if you go there, doesn't seem like Dr. Vibe has any followers. We're literally starting. We have 200 followers in the last month. So we're just getting things started. But you can find me at Dr. _ Steven Schwartz, STEVEN Schwartz, SCHWARTZ. You can find me there. Bioharmonic Technologies is my company. We haven't even spoken about my company, but that is my company that's been founded since 2007. And I make therapeutic music. We've been running all kinds of, that's where we program. That's the Vibe system, the vibrational individual body enhancement system. It's through Bioharmonic Technologies, and that's BIOHARMONIC Technologies. And also it's technologies.com if you want to find our website. And then also my book, Primal, it's Read, READ space, Primal Resonance. Read Primal Resonance. Not residence, but like resonance, like resonant frequency. Mm-hmm. And the last Instagram is Vibrophile, VIBROPHILE. And that's the world's first immersive music app. It hosts all of our music and all of our sonic-ceuticals. And so whether you have another vibrating technology that accepts music or you want to get aligned with Dr. Vibe and the Vibe system, you get a prescription. You can get a subscription to our app, Vibrophile. Follow us there. And then, like I said, our website is bioharmonictechnologies.com. And I have a personal website, drstephenschwartz.com. I have an online course that you could see through our website, and we teach how to make immersive somatic music. It's really an amazing course on quantum physics and music, essentially. And then Facebook, Stephen Schwartz. And that's all my places you can find me. I love talking about these things. I live down in Tulum. If you're ever down here, look me up. But I'm all over the world speaking and lecturing on these topics of the top 10 ways on how to reverse aging and degeneration using sound, light, frequency, and vibration, how to clear cellular memory, interdimensional portals, and how to step into the highest expression of yourself. It's really what I'm all about. And how we can raise the vibration of the planet and harmonize humanity using sound, light, frequency, and vibration. And every vibe that is on this planet it's its own mini vortex. So I know that it's spreading good vibes every place we have it. So if you want to participate in spreading the vibes all around the world, connect with me and we can get you a vibe of your own. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Stephen, it's a really great episode. Your episode 546 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I just want everybody to consider doing a vibe session with you, learn more about your vibe technology, take a sound bath. That's my takeaway is I want people to take some sound baths with your vibe technology and check out his book, Primal Resonance. It'll help you deal with your chronic inflammation and any of your autoimmune diseases and your allergies. So, that's just really good stuff. And I learned a whole lot about bioresonance. If you guys had some takeaways, just share the show. That's the fee that I ask of you guys that are watching this and that follow what we both do is just share this because there's somebody out there that needs to hear these shows about chiropractic. And we are protecting the sacred trust and we are keeping things chiropractic over here with Chiro Hustle. So with that being said, Dr. Stephen, thank you for being our guest today. And I want everybody to, as I always close out, just keep hustling. You're only one story away. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.